porn photographers. What is the most awkward moment you had? What do you feel when you film? How is your job generally? Not photographer here, but cinematographer. When I was at the beginning of my career, I accepted a proposal to work on a hard movie. After the second day of filming, the director approached me and told me, "It's clear you are a good cinematographer. I love how you manage the skin tones and mood. Just one thing. In this industry, it's not only the face that we want lit correctly, it's the nutsack, right? You know, the close up on the guy's ass and balls that always pops up right as you come? That." When I was 22, I was asked by a friend of mine to record he and his wife have sex. He said it didn't have to be weird because they weren't looking for a threesome or anything like that. I agreed because it sounded interesting. But the sex they had was extremely rough and unexpected. At one point he started crying while she was doing a certain something to his backside while wearing a large attachment, and I asked if he was alright, which caused him to get pissed and yell at me for interrupting them. I stayed quiet after that and kept recording. When he was able to get back in the mood, after they were done, he left the room and his wife asked me to never to bring up him crying to him because he was sensitive about it. I of course agreed, and she hugged me, then kissed me on my cheek, which I really didn't like because she was still naked and covered in sweat, and I just watched her eat his, but not more than 15 minutes prior. / This right here is why I come to Reddit. I was in AA when I was 19, and I learned that my then sponsor directed porn. Being an ambitious young man, I inquired about any job openings as an actor. He just shook his head and said, "You don't actually want to do porn. It smells bad." Worked in plastic injection molding for years. Had a new guy come inside the employee's door one day. His first, "What's that smell? Plastics." Shook his head. "Not for me." I quit and walked away. I get it. I worked in a machine shop for a few months. I sucked at it and got fired. Good learning experience though, but there were some smells that would have made it difficult for me long term. One of the coolants in the CNC machine smelled really sweet, and after long runs the area around the machine had like this really hard to describe artificial, almost dull steel etcher smell. It was like an olfactory uncanny valley. Can someone link the video of the camera operator eating a donut while filming a scene? That was what first came to my mind. Worked on a set as security and observed that basically time is money. They want to get specific things on film and, at this time, photographed. That tension if things are not going smoothly or perfectly is not attractive. Production staff are simply trying to achieve all the goals and ensure they check everything off their list, and one inability to deliver causes them a lot of stress. Wait, I work as security. You saying the porn industry needs security guards? Exclamation mark. Oh. Genuine question though. How come? That's an angle I had not considered about the porn industry. Basically to secure the set, make sure no one who shouldn't be there was there. Escort talent to and from vehicle. I used to work at a strip club and was asked to help for a few months, and essentially would show up at the studios' homes they rented and staged to provide those services. I'm a photographer who has on a few occasions taken photos of porn. Usually for friends who have OnlyFans, but my story is from before I did so. A model reached out for me for a shoot. We chatted normally and talked out some minor details. Nothing explicit. Just a bit of topless stuff. Mind you, I didn't know her at all. She was a random person who reached out on Instagram. She texts me and tells me that we are going to FaceTime at 12 AM. I insist that we can talk tomorrow and that I'm already in bed, and she persists that it's fine. I hate FaceTiming, especially with people I don't know, especially at midnight when I'm already cozy in bed. She calls me and is in the middle of taking a piss completely nude and drunk off her ass. I was taken aback and told her we can just talk tomorrow. She gets upset and says that we need to talk now so she can show me her body and her tattoos. She says this as she's wiping up. I was super skeeved out and hung up. Needless to say, I did not feel comfortable doing a photoshoot with her and I ghosted. Sounds like you missed out. She seems a charmer. Yep. She was probably the one. I had to shoot the ugliest couple I have ever seen. Woman looked like a 6-foot ogre and man looked like a tiny Harry Potter with a soul patch. They had zero chemistry and she kept looking at his junk and trying to make this sultry face, but it looked like she was confused and disgusted by it. They also insisted on shooting in the hot tub, but she was the exact same color as the stucco behind it. That last line has me cracking up. Backlight. We need some backlighting in here. Actually, let's just turn all the lights off. It's okay. It's artistic. Light is not your friend. Apostrophe. Not a photographer, but I worked for an adult company and have been on multiple gay and hetero video sets. There is more poop and blood on a porn set than you think. Also a fair amount of vomit. I was once on set for a scene that involved faking accidental anal. So much poop. Then after the performer used the bathroom for an hour of douching, the scene continued. Every few minutes a cameraman or sound guy would wipe blood from the dude's dick. They weren't willing to hold filming because they had a tight schedule and the empty mansion they were filming in had a real estate appointment meeting in it that night. Jesus, hope they have good health insurance because bleeding anus can't be good. It was probably a hemorrhoid. It's usually a hemorrhoid when it's spotty. Fishes generally cause bloody poop and diarrhea. Isn't this topic wonderful? I was the model for an ACT outdoor shoot and was posing on a pretty big boulder. Felt it tickling on my ass. Looking there and there was this lizard just chilling on my butt. Was so surprised I almost jumped off the rock. The photographer was very amused. I also learned that rock climbing naked is a lot of fun. That's not my boulder. Why is it soft? Where's my boulder? Confused lizard noises. That lizard probably. But seriously, I'm glad you had fun and got the shots you needed to. I also want to try naked rock climbing now. Still warm. All good from a lizard cough. I used to shoot fetish and BDSM porn in college, and for a few years after I graduated college, 2010, 16ish, I have a degree in photography and was in Boy Scout and am very good at knots, so a friend got me into it by helping tie up men and women and photographing them for her fetish site. This led to me doing tons of more work. The worst is feeder porn work. These poor women would just eat and eat on camera and then vomit and gag all over themselves. It was pretty rough stuff to photograph and film. Also it would make me kinda of sad because these women would gain large amounts of weight quickly between each time you'd work with them and it just didn't seem healthy. As has been said already, the worst part is the smells. Group sex scenes and the feeder scenes. The smells were enough to make you gag sometimes. Also, if you want to make decent money you have to do both gay and straight scenes, which as a straight male at first is really odd, but you get used to it shockingly quick. The worst part is you become kinda numb to it all when you are behind the camera. Like you will meet your model and she will be very attractive, but as soon as you're behind the camera it becomes very much so a job and you become focused on getting a good shot and the lighting correct. The awkwardness of them being naked and masturbating or having sex in front of you disappears so quick. You sort of become numb to it all to the point in your personal life nudity and sex doesn't affect you the same. One of the most awkward things was when models would show up with their boyfriends, who would just be like really weird and awkward in the set background. Like it would almost always be buff military or former military dudes or wannabe MMA fighter types, and they'd stand cross-armed off to the side and being very encouraging to their girlfriends / boyfriends while watching them get ducked. I personally just always found that odd. I understand they came I guess to make them feel safe, but some of the weird things they'd say would always make you scratch your head. Only got came on once and it just grazed my leg. Got squirt droplets hit me a few times. Never really got involved with the scenes other than that and tying people up. Honestly, sets were much more professional than I imagined when I was younger. Most of the porn girls were not like crazy whores who wanted to duck constantly. It was literally them turning it on and off for the camera. I worked with a smaller budget company, so I never saw fluffers, and I honestly question if they really exist. It would be common to see the guys sort of just casually be jerking off between shots to keep it up, which is sort of weird. Yeah, I'd be talking to them about asserting a shot up, and they'd just be jerking it the whole time. Pay was pretty good. Usually on set days was about $60 an hour paid out in 4-hour blocks, so even if you worked 6 hours you'd get paid for 8, which was cool. you're an independent contractor slash freelance, even if you tend to just work for one company. I'm mostly out of that world now, with the occasional shooting for some girls who I've stayed in contact with to shoot for their OnlyFans pages. The phenomena you describe reminds me of technical directing a multi-camera interview. At the end, someone could ask what was discussed, and I'd have no idea, because I was so focused on working the switcher and calling out direction to camera operators. That's kind of like the work I do now and saying. I produce for a company that does how to classes and talks on stuff in the textile industry, and I barely pay attention to what's going on since I'm so focused on running the switcher and cameras at the same time. There was an AMA on this a while back. You may be able to find something there. I believe the cameraman was doing VR porn at the time or something related to that. I don't shoot porn or even erotic, but I'm a photographer who shoots a lot of art nudes, and my models range from first time models who only shoot fully clothed to people who shoot porn. Before every shoot I give the model a safety talk, in which I say that I won't touch them, that I'll show them every shot I take, and tell them that if anything is making them uncomfortable I want them to speak up. I once had a model interrupt that talk to say my job is mainly shooting bondage and fetish porn. There is nothing that you are going to say or do that will make me uncomfortable. That felt awkward to me. I thought about it for a second and told her that I did not care what she did at other times. I was going to treat her like I treated every other model, and then I went on with my model safety talk. I have to admit that I'm always a bit nervous working with a model who is new to me. Her saying that actually made me relax a bit during the shoot. I'm glad you continued your safety talk. It's not just for the model, but also for yourself, so you know that they know how you work and you yourself can feel more safe with them. Yeah, some people that are into rough stuff forget about to take measures to keep them safe, or dismiss them as weakness and not belong to BDSM. I've heard of some very bad accidents and sometimes even crimes happening because of that. Former porn producer here. I've mentioned stories here on Reddit that were more sad than awkward. And though I didn't run the camera all the time, there was awkwardness abound. During setups it's common knowledge that the guy needs to either start getting hard or remain hard. In straight porn the woman will intimately interact with the guy to keep those juices flowing. In gay porn, back in 03, the guys were straight, so they would watch straight porn, or sometimes just stand there and jack off. On more than one occasion the guy would be jacking off and causally look at me and say sup while I was working. You can make the argument that he was probably gay, but I was the least attractive man on that set. On a straight porn set the guy was blowing the woman missionary style in between setups. The woman wanted a blanket from her car, but needed to tell me where the keys to her car were. So while getting ducked she was like, it's in my gym bag side pocket. I once opened a dishwasher in a porn studio to get a plate and found a whole top rack filled with dildos. They were used by performers doing live cam sessions. Some guy came up and was like, there's my favorite, and took a blue dildo from the rack. Devon Davis, the now deceased wife of Jonathan Davis of Korn, was best friends with Jill Kelly back when I worked for her. They did a photo shoot where they were eating each other's pussies, like 5 feet from my desk. Devon kept her wine glass on my desk and kept walking up to me like, you're getting hard huh? I really wasn't and just wanted to work without causing any waves. Since Jill was my boss, she later got mad because she demanded I picked up dog shit from Jill's dog, and I told her no. On a gay porn set this 5'9" guy who had a massive 12 dick was blowing this guy hard. Our set photographer, who was gay, was like, I took a dick that big once and I got dizzy. Sure enough the scene stops and the bottom went to stand up and took a second step saying, man, I'm a bit dizzy. I guess some of those aren't really awkward, but the most awkward thing on every porn set is the whole crew sitting in silence watching a guy jack off. He announces when he's about to come and the crew and woman/man swing into action to get the pop shot. The most awkward thing on every porn set is the whole crew sitting in silence watching a guy jack off. He announces when he's about to come and the crew and woman/man swing into action to get the pop shot. This is like that public speaking and suddenly you're naked nightmare, only about 1,000 times worse. I wonder if porn actors have nightmares where they're at work then look down and realize they're fully clothed. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.